Welcome back, viewers and listeners, to a new season of Dudes the Dead podcast. We're heading into season 8. Yes, we've done 8 whole seasons. And 2 seasons ago, we did new horror movies looking at the films of 2024. And this year, we would also like to tackle the new horror films. So for season 8, we'll be doing all 2025 new release horror films. How do you feel about that?
I feel pretty good because they're going to be better than the 80s horror films we looked at last time.
Yeah, we've done a lot of 80s films in the last little while, but nice to be back. We missed some big bangers, I think, from the first portion of the year. So some of those we may tackle in upcoming episodes. But there's lots of good horror movies coming up, of course, in the fall. So should be a good season.
It should be indeed. Yeah, there's already been some really good ones come out.
There has. And so should we get to our quick cuts?
We should indeed.
Okay. Do you want to go first?
Yep. I recommended this one to Maniac, but he hasn't had the chance to see it yet.
Or have I?
Or have you? The Loved Ones.
Oh, no, I haven't.
2009 is what my quick cut is. Splatter crime thriller. I'd say more on the splatter side. This got 6.6 on IMDb, 98 on Rotten Tomatoes, and 73% audience. So that's a really interesting split. Like many of the films we've done, the critics saw through what was happening more than the audience did. It's a brutal film. So the summary is, after a classmate declines her invitation to the school dance, a teenager kidnaps him and makes him the guest of honor at her own twisted prom. And the key word there is twisted. This film is out there, but out there in a good way. One of the critics' quotes that I picked up was, "This film successfully mixes the conventions of the teen and horror genres with a twist. Australian director Sean Byrne makes a striking directorial debut with this film." Now, we talked about Australian films before, and this one is no exception.
Yeah, what's up with Australian people?
I don't know. It's when your whole continent or whatever is planning to kill you, I guess you just make really, really harsh horror movies. I guess. I don't know.
I don't think I've ever seen a tame Australian horror. Like, they're always really brutal and hardcore.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
they're good.
Both leads are very believable. They give strong performances, but the female lead, Robin McCleary, is intense and absolutely creepy AF. Like, just brutal.
I'm excited to watch this one.
So it's a wild ride, I would say, just to finish up, but it's not for the faint of heart. There's body horror, cringy relationships, and some twists and turns along the way. So I'm looking forward to Maniac seeing this, and maybe that'll be your quick cut in the future. One of them.
It might be, yeah.
Okay.
We were gonna watch this, and then my wife wanted us to run some errands, so we did that instead. But next time we'll be watching this one.
You know what the priorities are. There you go.
Indeed. All right, so I tried to be clever with my quick cut. It is a 2025 film, but it's a transition because it takes place in the 1980s. So I thought this would be a good leaving our 80s season and heading into our 2025 season. Can you guess what it is?
No.
Oh, it's Fear Street, Prom Queen.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So this is a standalone slasher film directed by Matt Palmer, who co-directed it with Donald McCleary. Set in 1988 at Shadyside High, the story follows Laurie Granger, an outsider determined to rewrite her family's dark reputation by winning the Prom Queen crown. But when the other contenders start disappearing under suspicious and increasingly bloody circumstances, Laurie teams up with her best friend Megan to unravel the sinister truth behind the murders. Unlike your pick, this got a miserable 32% critic score and 38% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes.
I think that's too low.
And a 5.1 on IMDb. Do you?
Yeah, I don't think it was I don't think that warrants something in the 30s. And 5.1, I think, would indicate something a little bit higher.
That's fair. Yeah,
it wasn't as good as the other three.
No, I would say the film was, I think maybe people were disappointed because I would say I was disappointed given how good the first three was. This one plays it very safe.
Yes.
And I feel like the last couple of years, people have been doing a lot of innovative things in horror, and this just is very vanilla.
Yeah.
It's predictable. The characters are more like caricatures. I found the lead to be kind of boring. For a slasher film, I think the kills were fairly banal.
Yeah.
The 80s soundtrack, though, is really good. And it has a Rickroll.
Yes, that's true.
That's true. I was like cheering at the screen. Like, it went up a whole point for me based on the Rickroll. I'm notorious at work for Rickrolling people all the time. So I very much appreciate a good Rickroll. So ultimately, I think I would say this is an avoid. You're right. I don't think it's terrible. Like, I think it's executed fine.
Yeah.
But it's also, I don't think, really worth going out of your way to see. It's just kind of meh.
Yeah, that's fair.
Which is too bad, given that the first three were really good. but maybe they'll return to glory if they do more in the future.
Yeah, I think they should pull the plug now. Just you've done 4 films, just
Yeah.
leave it.
Okay.
Um,
All right. So our main event for this episode is Sinners from 2025.
We've been gone a long time. We back now. You twins? Nah, we cousins.
There are legends of people with the gift of making music so true. It can conjure spirits from the past and the future. This gift can bring fame and fortune.
Well, somebody take me in your eyes.
But it also can pierce the veil between life and death.
Set in 1932 Mississippi, Sinners follows 2 twin brothers, Smoke and Stack Moore, both portrayed by Michael B. Jordan, who return to their hometown after years in Chicago. With ambitions of opening a juke joint, they assemble a band, but their dreams are shattered when disaster strikes their opening night. The story weaves supernatural horror with themes of legacy, racial tension, and the redemptive power of Black music. This was directed by Ryan Coogler, who also directed Creed and Black Panther.
yes.
Have you seen that Creed film?
And Creed 2 and Creed 3.
Fair enough.
and-
Yeah. I'd heard that Creed film was really good, and I haven't seen it. I've been meaning to see it. I've
No.
heard it's really good.
I haven't seen it either, but I've heard similar reviews that it was very good.
Yeah. So I need to get on that and watch that. So Michael B. Jordan plays both brothers, Smoke and Snack, Miles Caton as Sammy, and Adrienne Ward Hammond as Ruthie. This fared well with critics, got a 7.6 on Internet Movie Database, and a whopping 97% critic score and 96% audience
Yes.
score. Now, I would say if you wanted to go into this completely blind, I think we will talk about the premise right away. So if you want to know absolutely nothing about the film, then you should probably turn this off and go watch it. But I think the trailer does give away
Yeah, I was going to say
the source of the horror,
then don't watch the trailers either. Or
which some people are doing these
Yeah,
days. So I
yeah.
could see if you know nothing about Sinners, maybe go watch it first.
I think this film in particular is one of the ones where going in blind is way better than if you know what's coming.
Yeah. And I did go into it blind.
Yeah.
We'll
mean,
talk about that.
Yeah, I had a little bit of an idea, but I'm glad you didn't give that away in the intro, because I have a note to myself like, hey, how are we going to talk about this without talking about the source of the horror?
Yeah, I adapted my synopsis as to not spoil anything. So if you want to know nothing about Sinners, because we're going to be spoiling at least the premise in a minute, perhaps go watch it first and then come back. This is also an interesting, I would say, genre bender. This is, I have historical drama, crime, romance, musical, horror film. Did I miss any subgenres there?
What have I got?
Did I miss any?
Actually, I didn't know, because I knew it was your intro. No, I didn't have anything, but no, I don't think you missed anything.
Okay.
It pretty much covers it all.
Now, out of curiosity, so I was fairly late to this film. I only watched it a few weeks ago. And this, more than any film, I would say in 2025, was getting a lot of buzz.
Mhm.
Like, I knew that Sinners was on people's minds. And it was interesting that I had people recommending this film to me who weren't horror fans. So I was like quite intrigued. But what were your expectations going to this? And what kind of buzz were you aware of when you went to see it? Or under what circumstances did you go to see it?
I went to see this in theaters, and I don't know. I mean, because it was like literally just released, so there wasn't a lot of buzz yet. I don't remember. I didn't seek out a trailer, but I think I had seen one in another film. So I kind of had a concept of what was coming. Sorry, what was the rest of the question?
Oh, I was just curious, like what mindset did you go into this film with? Like, were you
Mm.
expecting it? Did you hear this was the best horror film of 2025 sort of buzz? Or
And to be honest, I mean, I think this is a very, very good film, so I'm not taking away anything from it. I wonder if the hype is a little overhyped for the film.
that's what I was going to
Yeah.
say. So I went into this with fairly high expectations, and I'll talk about it. But I would say I appreciated it more as a drama than I did as a horror. And that's a bit of a spoiler for maybe how
Yeah.
I feel about the film overall.
Is it because it was like you really don't get the reveal until like an hour into the film, and it's a pretty slow build?
That's right. And I think how it handles the horror also is different than your average horror movie.
Yeah, for sure.
And
for
having
sure.
watched it, it's not too surprising to me that people who I don't normally associate as horror fans came away liking the film.
Okay, yeah, I can see it appealing more to non-horror fans.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of horror, I mean, I don't know if this is going to be, because you said you're going to talk about the premise.
Yeah,
Fair.
we'll be mentioning that fairly quickly.
Well, just because I want to mention, like, Ebert.com, because he's not alive anymore.
Are we spoiling it right now then?
Well, I think it's going to be a spoiler when I mention.
Right. Okay. So
There
now
you
we're going
go.
to talk about the film.
You've been warned.
Not plot spoilers, but we're going to talk about premise spoilers.
Yeah. So Ebert.com said, this is a collision of Queen of the Damned and From Dusk Till Dawn.
That's funny. I was going to ask you, did this film remind you of anything?
Yeah.
And watching it, I just kept thinking of From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah, 100%.
Which, do you think it was inspired by Dusk Till Dawn, or did you come across that?
That's
Coogler?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. I mean, he's a talented filmmaker, and of the 5, I think, feature films that he's made, they've all been bangers. So I'm not sure that. I mean, maybe inspired. Certainly, there's enough difference that I don't think there's anything copied. But the other thing, coming back to our point earlier, because this is something I don't know if you noticed this when you were looking at reviews, but there was definitely a dichotomy in the reviews. Some critics calling it a masterpiece, and some saying this just misses. It doesn't really hit where it should.
Yeah.
So there's mixed feelings about the film as a whole. All the critics that I read definitely talked about the quality of the filmmaking being very high.
Yes.
Just that maybe the genre bending didn't quite hit the way it should.
I think that's
have.
partly what it is. Maybe they tried to be too ambitious with
Yeah.
that, and as a result, no one genre kind of like gets its full strengths.
Yeah, agreed.
But just going back to the Dusk Till Dawn,
Yeah,
things, you
sorry.
have 2 brothers
Yes.
who are both criminals,
Yes.
who like assemble like a group of people, and then they're at a nightclub or a bar, and then they get ambushed by, drum roll, vampires.
There you go.
So
if you
I think
didn't-
there's a
yeah.
lot of parallels between From Dusk Till Dawn, which is an amazing film, and this one.
What I would say about that, I 100% agree. However, I do think that Sinners tackles that scenario quite differently,
100%.
and is much more restrained than Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, and this has actually it's Robert Rodriguez.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Tarantino's in it. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
But yeah, for this film, I think there's a lot of like social commentary,
Yeah,
and I don't
absolutely.
think Dusk Till Dawn has any
No,
social commentary,
no.
or if it is, it's very subtle.
I mean, we can talk about this more later, but I think something you mentioned that really struck me is the power of the music.
Definitely.
And how the music is metaphorical for good, evil, Black experience, all these different things that I think the music evokes. And I didn't know, is it Michael Keaton? This is his first film.
Oh yes, yes.
And
He was great.
he was a child prodigy musically.
Yeah.
And he's the son of a singer as well.
Hmm.
But what I read was that they were blown away by his guitar playing and singing. Like I didn't look close enough. Sometimes, in a film you can see that it's somebody lip syncing.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's so good that you don't know. This one was like, I'm pretty sure he's singing that.
It
Yeah.
seemed legit. And I
Yeah.
love that scene when they're driving in the car and he shows off his
Yes.
skills for the first time. I think it's Stack is like, whoa, like just super
Yeah.
blown away. And he is so good that it does catch your attention
Yes,
because he's so
absolutely.
talented. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get more, I think, into the
Yes.
themes because I agree with you. But even Dusk Till Dawn does feature full musical numbers, and Rodriguez also likes to feature
Yeah.
music in his films. So just, again, this is not a Dusk Till Dawn review, but it just, so many elements of this made me wonder, like, oh, I wonder if this is sort of like an homage to that film. Yeah, so I think to start, performances were, I would say, incredible.
Yeah,
Did you have
100%.
any issues with the acting?
No, not at all. I mean, great ensemble cast, really strong performances. I love Delroy Lindo. He was
Mhm.
great. Michael Keaton's good. And of course, the two. Now, I say this advisedly. Some of the things I've seen, well, okay, so Black Panther, and I know that his character wasn't supposed to be likable.
Right.
But a couple of other things I've seen Michael B. Jordan in, I don't know what it is. Something irks me about his acting.
Oh, interesting.
And I don't know what it is, but he was fantastic. And I say that as well because he's playing 2 characters, like 2 twin brothers. He's playing both of them, but it's a good enough performance that they are their own people.
That's what was really impressive.
yeah.
Yeah, because it didn't just feel like the same looking person as the
Yes.
same person. They were very distinct personalities, and that would be hard to do.
I think so. Yeah. And I kudos are due there. And it's that this is something about me. And because I mean, he's a great actor and people have commented on his performances. So it's just, I don't know what it is. Je ne sais quoi. But that's the case. But he was fantastic. Sorry, I'm digressing.
No, for sure. And I wonder how much he did like all the acting for Stack and then all the acting for
I
Smoke, or if he
wondered
had to
that
jump
too.
back and forth
Yeah.
a lot. Because if he did have to jump back and forth a lot, that's pretty impressive. Just being able to switch into those two different characters.
I would like to think that they gave him the continuity of doing one character and then another, because
Yeah.
that would be a major mind bender if you had to go back and forth between characters.
Totally. Actually, and one thing I really liked about this one, I felt all the characters, even like the secondary and tertiary characters, were all like interesting.
Yes.
Like I wasn't invested in just the twins or just was it Sam?
Sam.
Yeah.
Sammy.
Because I have Delta Slim, Cornbread, Lisa, and Bo Chow, Paraline, Mary. Like they had a lot of well-developed, interesting
Yes.
characters, and that made it enjoyable just from a drama perspective, I thought.
And what's the character's name? Is it Mary, the one who's black but doesn't look black in the film? Is that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I found that really, I mean, again, coming back to some of the themes, that idea, which has been explored in other films, but just this idea of a light-skinned black person and whether they're accepted by their own community or not. And I find that fascinating because if you've, like, I've seen comedians talk about this, but how different Asian groups are racist against other Asian groups, and there's a
Absolutely.
hierarchy,
Yeah.
right? And it's I've heard similar things about the black community that because of course if you go back, like this is 1932,
Mhm.
and if you go back in those days, a black performer could perform in a white venue, but couldn't stay there, couldn't
Right.
drink there, couldn't go to the bathroom there. Like, so somebody like Lena Horne, who is very light skinned, got away with more things than somebody else who maybe looked black.
And they call
right?
attention to it to a few.
Yes,
it's like, oh,
they
how
do.
come she gets to
Yes,
come in and
exactly.
I don't? And yeah,
Yeah.
I like that too. Now we did say there was a lot of emphasis on music. I would say 4 or
Absolutely.
5 like full musical
Yeah.
performances. Would you call it a musical?
Well, that's the other genre that I will say no, and I'll tell you why. Because my perception of a musical is, and this is kind of like the Broadway musical style, is that lines are sung by characters as opposed to music being integral to the story.
Yeah, I agree.
Which in this case, it would be a much different film if that music, were not as good, or they chose a different genre. Why you would in 1932, I don't know. But yeah, I don't think this is a musical, but music is integral to the film.
Right. So you don't have people randomly breaking into song to like
No,
convey
exactly.
the plot through
Exactly.
lyrics.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of full musical performances that go on for maybe a few minutes. Did you like the music, or do you feel like it slowed down the pace of the film?
No, I mean, I love this kind of music.
You're
anyway.
a blues fan too, right?
Yeah. So this is kind of like that old school Delta blues kind of thing. And yeah, fantastic. And I love how they play with the idea of the crossroads myth,
Mhm.
and just the idea of your musical power is so great that it calls upon the devil,
Yeah.
and that's a very intriguing concept. And it's been around, I don't know how long, but certainly close to 100 years, because you have Robert Johnson in the 1920s, that whole crossroads thing. So yeah, the music was definitely a highlight for me.
See, for me, I appreciate it at first. I think there were a few times though where I was kind of ready to
Yeah, fair enough.
keep things going. Like
Yeah.
I wondered, but I get it, right? Because I think the whole film is about music being sort of a metaphor for culture and what they're trying to say about Black culture and protecting
Yeah.
Black culture from white appropriation or control. Is like you have to emphasize that theme enough to make it central to your film.
Yeah.
So I get it. But there were just times where I feel like it slowed it down just a little bit.
And I think, I mean,
But I
don't-
enjoyed the music. It's really good.
I can understand if you're not, I don't know if I'd call myself a rabid fan of Delta blues, but if you're not a real blues fan, you might feel that way. It's like, yeah, okay, just get on with the story, right?
I appreciate blues music, but I don't really listen to
Yeah.
it for my own pleasure. Whereas I think you do, right?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
Yeah, for
yeah.
sure. So I'm just trying to think how to, did you think it went, or it was clear enough in that good versus evil kind of thing with respect to music, that it can be a power for good,
Mhm.
but it can also be, I think the evil part was clear.
Yeah, it really came through for me. What they were trying to say with music, I think, is once. Is this a spoiler? I don't think so.
Haven't we? Well, we spoiled.
We spoiled the premise. Yeah, this
okay.
is maybe a little later in the film, but the idea that Oh yeah. Okay. Maybe this is a spoiler.
Okay, we'll save it then.
No, we'll just go for it. All right.
Okay.
So
Spoiler.
when they eat people, they absorb their musical abilities. And
Mm.
I think one of the lead vampires at one point says, like, we want your music.
Yeah.
So the idea is that it's like a monoculture and they have all these different musical styles already based on other victims they've eaten.
Right.
So I think the idea that like they were the juke joint is like a protective home for their culture and
Yeah.
their music. And then if the vampires come and take them out, then they absorb that music into
Right.
their culture, which I think is what the message of the film is supposed to be about. So I guess I didn't see it so much as like good versus evil or for good or for evil, which is interesting because the vampires also perform music, which
Yes.
was interesting and maybe why I didn't appreciate it as much as a
Fair.
horror film because
Yeah.
it does take some of the tension away
Yeah.
and some of the scariness away. But just the idea that we want to absorb your music into our mythic culture.
Yeah, and the other thing that dawned on me while you were talking about that is I hadn't really considered it in this way before, but the vampires kind of taking in the music is almost, I wonder if it's a message about cultural appropriation.
That's what I thought the film
Yeah,
was about.
interesting.
And the other interesting thing about that is like I think we've seen so many different vampire films and them used in so many different ways
Yes.
and make so many social messages using vampires.
One of the critics that I read had mentioned that they didn't think the movie offered anything new in the vampire genre. And
Oh.
that's so I don't know if they were, so they didn't clarify
Maybe they
whether
missed the point.
whether they were just talking about like the physical manifestation or how they interact with regular or whatever. But I agree with you. I think that is something that if it's been in, okay, actually I can think of one vampire film, which I don't think you've seen,
Okay.
called Lovers Left Alive, which is a Jim Jarmusch, I think, film.
I remember you mentioned, I've not seen that one, no.
And I think that one has some cultural
Oh, cool.
conversation to have. But this one, to me, seemed a little bit more on the nose in a good way. I don't say that as a criticism. I just think it was clear to me what some of the messaging was in the film, for sure.
Yeah, it seemed important to me because he explicitly says at one point, like, we want your music kind
Yes.
of thing. And at that point, the metaphor became pretty clear.
Yeah.
I thought. Yeah, so that's true, though. I guess in terms of the function of the vampire, it doesn't do anything new. There's still
Yes.
has to be invited in, sunlight, garlic, and silver, I think was the thing
Yeah, I
too. Because
think
there's the
silver, yeah.
silver on his guitar. So off the top of my head, I can't think of any new rules that have to do with the vampire.
No, they're pretty standard.
But how it functions in terms of like delivering social commentary seemed unique to me.
Yeah.
So just shows again, like I think the vampire subgenre is one of the most prolific, and I guess maybe that's why, because you can just do a lot more with it in terms of
Well, and they're so malleable in terms of what
Mhm.
you can say about them. Yeah, I mean, and I don't think I've seen anything. Certainly, I can't remember. Like the only black vampire films that I can think of are blaxploitation from the 70s, like Blackula and those kinds of things.
Dracula. No, is it?
It's Blackula.
No,
sorry.
Vampire in Brooklyn.
Okay, yeah.
It's Eddie Murphy. Right?
Yeah, so I mean, there have been other black vampire films, but almost as a more of a comedy or an exploitation film
That's right.
as opposed to a serious look.
And Jordan Peele hasn't tackled vampires yet.
No, he hasn't, but I'm
Maybe at
looking
some
forward
point.
to him doing that. That would be awesome.
That would be cool. So yeah, the movie's also quite sexy. There's a lot of, you might not want to watch this with young children.
Yeah, fair enough.
For the violence and for the
yeah.
sexual content, but that almost struck me a bit because I feel like you don't see
No,
that very often in film these days. So
I think that speaks to the idea that you were talking about at the beginning, that there's certainly a lot of dramatic elements.
totally.
So I would say that this is not that all films aren't character driven to an extent, but I certainly feel like this film is driven by the characters as
Yes.
opposed to the content of the film, if that makes
Agreed.
sense.
It felt like a historical drama.
Absolutely.
And that's what grabbed me the most. And that's what I was the most invested in. And then when the vampires come, I almost like lost a bit of interest rather than gained.
Yeah, interesting. And did you find it, I mean, because I know I complain about this a lot, did you find it long in the tooth in terms of like it's 2 hours and
I did.
17 minutes?
I
Yeah,
did.
I found it a bit long.
And I wondered, because you and I had a different opinion here, but I wondered if that was because the musical acts were so long, if that slowed the pacing down, but you enjoyed the music. But as a
Absolutely.
result, it's 2.5, almost 3 hours.
Yeah, 217, I think.
Yeah.
is the runtime.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's coming up on 2.5 hours. Now, to be fair, when I was in the theater, I wasn't looking at my watch, but
No.
I did notice it was like, okay, where is this going? Let's get there.
The movie is never boring.
No,
It's very
no.
engaging, unless you find the music boring, I guess. But I didn't find it boring. There were times where I felt like it went on a bit
Yeah,
long.
absolutely.
But technically, yeah, I have no complaints about the film. Like it was very well shot. The lighting really stood out to me, like
Yeah.
in the juke joint. Like just the soft lighting of the bulbs and stuff was really cool. The costume design was really good. It's
yeah.
like a historical epic. Like they look really good, and the music was great. So technically, everything is good. The acting is good. I struggled just with some of the horror elements,
Yeah.
which we can get into at some point. Was there anything else you want to talk about the first half?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. So whatever you want to, if you want to, or should we go into spoilers?
Yeah,
Not
I
that
think
we haven't spoiled a bit already, but plot spoilers.
Yeah, plot spoilers I think would be worth talking about. So,
So
well, I guess first of all, then, do you recommend Sinners?
yeah,
To give our opinion.
yeah, I think so. I mean, again, depends on what kind of, if you're a gore hound, or all you like is slasher films, this is not going to be your thing. If you like some more thought into your horror films, and I mean, it's a bit of a stretch even to call this a horror, but it does get there eventually. I'd recommend this as a well-made film with good performances and an interesting concept, and I don't think it's a waste of your time to see it.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's going to appeal to every horror fan.
Yep, agreed. And I've heard some people say like, oh, this will easily be like my best film of 2025 or in the very top. I'm not sure for me if it'll crack like the upper echelon
Yeah.
of the best films of the year, but just in terms of the quality for the horror genre is very high.
Yeah.
And the movie is very entertaining. It's hard to really nitpick anything that is not technically well done. So
Yeah, agreed.
100% recommend it. Yeah, I agree. Just some people may like it less than others, but
Yeah.
for sure, one of the better horror films of 2025 or just
Absolutely.
better films of
Yeah.
2025. so far.
Especially if you're going to see this, or like you're streaming it, and it's they're not cheap. It's not going to be in the theaters anymore, but I think it's worth your dime to see this either streaming or in the theater if you get a chance to do that. So yeah, I'd go watch it.
All right. Spoilers?
Spoilers. Woo, spoilers. Okay.
Okay. So yeah, my first complaint was when they first revealed that they're vampires, and like the part where Stack gets attacked in the little room and gets eaten. I thought that was really good.
Yeah.
And like she's drooling and he kind of
Yes.
comments on it, but he goes with it. But was it what's her name? Ruthie? The idea that Ruthie just started telling them about, oh yeah, they're vampires. We need to get garlic. We need to get they have to stay away till sunlight and kill them. Then like I didn't buy the fact that she would just know all these things about vampires, and she just spit out like, all right, guys, here's what we got to do to deal with the vampires, because it seemed like the idea of a vampire was not part of the lore of the world. It seemed very grounded in reality for the most part up until that point. So their explanation for how she would know all these things for me just felt a little bit lazy.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. I didn't question it because she was she's kind of cast as a shaman, witch
Yeah.
doctor, healing person, whatever. So would she know those things? Yeah, probably not. But in this universe, if she's a healer and she's kind of in touch with those things, then I didn't really question whether she would know it or not.
Yeah, it just
So
seemed like
give her a break. Come on.
I just felt like they did that because they wanted to have a reason to just explain
Sure.
these things. Whereas like just them having to organically figure it out might have been more interesting.
How
But-
would they do that? How would they organically figure that out? Let's try beets. Oh
Well-
no, that doesn't work. Let's try garlic.
I mean, maybe sure about that part doesn't make sense, but just maybe that they didn't know they had to hold out till sunlight. But
Yeah,
if
yeah.
they managed to hold out till sunlight, then suddenly all the vampires die. But that's not like their goal.
Right.
Sure, the garlic. I mean, unless you got savage garlic breath or something.
Yeah,
and breathe on them.
exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a nitpick. That's not like a
Yeah,
major
no,
complaint,
fair,
but
fair.
it was something I was like, that's a bit unfortunate. And then on the one hand, having the vampires perform, it was like an Irish jig.
Yeah, it was like
or
a jig or something. Yeah.
was kind of cool and unique, and I enjoyed the music. But on the other hand, as something to be terrified of, and like it definitely reduced the fear level and the tension overall, having the vampires start doing like an Irish jig and they're like dancing and playing music. And
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've ever seen hillbilly vampires, which is basically like white trash is what they are. Right?
Yes. And when he first goes to the house of that couple and eats
Yeah.
her husband and stuff like that, all felt pretty intense.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
the fear there was like pretty palpable. And then I felt like they like undid a lot of the work they had done by then
Interesting.
having them dance an Irish jig. But I get that thematically that
Yeah.
makes sense
Yeah.
because they care about music and they want to appropriate their music, but just in terms of as a horror film, took the tension away.
Yeah, I think that's a fair critique.
Yeah. But otherwise, and it was maybe just the action was so then fast and furious.
Right.
Like there
Do
wasn't
you
much.
mean like the ending action? Is that what you're thinking? Or the like when the
Yeah, like once the vampires infiltrate, it just seemed like a bit of a
yeah, yeah,
pretty
yeah.
quick to the end.
Yeah.
Like there's some brawling and some pretty typical action fare, but there wasn't much like fear or tension, or it was
Yeah.
more just like, okay, we're gonna have a big brawl.
I think that's at least from my perspective, that's pacing.
Yeah.
Because you spent so long, like the first hour of a 2 and a bit hour film, building up the characters, building up the story, and then you kind of just race to the end once things happen. So I think I agree with you on that point that because there wasn't the same, I don't want to use the word, but I will. There wasn't the same care in the second half of the film as I
Mhm.
thought there was in the first. Then yeah, it kind of lets you down a little bit.
And
Sure.
given that they seemed outnumbered and that, in vampire lore, vampires are like very deadly.
Yeah.
And the fact that the humans put up as good of a fight as they did, I mean, these are all kind of nitpicky things, but
yeah.
and then they're not fully pressing them. Like they just could have slaughtered them in 3 seconds, I feel like, in most kind of vampire
Right.
lore things. And this one, I just lost investment in the film, I feel like, once we got to that stage of it. Did you have any other nitpicks?
Not really. I mean, I think we kind of agree on all the things that were challenging, with watching the film. I do think, I mean, I don't think it's definitely not going to be a top film for me, but I could see it being, in the top 5, the top 7. I mean, it's a well-made film. It just depends on how many other really banger horror films there are. Cause when you look at like 28 Weeks Later and these different ones, there've been some pretty strong contenders this year. So I don't know if this will make it rise to the top for me either.
Yeah, it's interesting as a film critic because I can appreciate, like, I really have nothing bad to say about the film. Like, it was very good and very well executed, but like, it's just not a film that I think, like, if you ask me 5 years from now, like, oh yeah, what'd you think of Sinners? I'd say, oh yeah, Sinners was excellent. Like, it's a very good
Yeah.
movie. But would I feel compelled to go back and rewatch Sinners a bunch of times? Like, I think no. And some people might for sure. Like, a lot of the reviews, people raved about it. But I can appreciate the quality of it and say almost only positive things. But on the other hand, it's still not one that I would necessarily want to go back to and watch. Like, I would rather go back and watch Dusk Till Dawn than I would Sinners.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, because Dusk Till Dawn is a much more fun film. Like it's
That's
just a film like that you can go back and rewatch a bunch of times because there's so much going on. You see things you didn't see before, or there was a kill that you didn't notice before, or whatever. So there's lots to go back to. This one is so story oriented and character oriented. I don't know that that's going to have the same appeal for me anyway, going back and watching, whereas Dusk Till Dawn is a very visual as opposed to character.
That's right.
film.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yep. And as you say, it is a bit of a longer runtime, so it's more of an investment.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's cool having a horror film that I feel like I could go to non-horror fans and say, hey, like, we should watch Sinners, because I would feel like my mother-in-law, like, she likes historical epics and she likes probably like the Black history element. And so like, I think she'd enjoy it on that level. Maybe we'll get turned off. We get to vampires, but
fair enough.
it is fun having films that are a little more accessible for non-horror fans.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So what'd you think of the ending?
I get the ending. I found the whole, is it Ruthie? Is that the like her dressed in white with a baby? And I mean, they allude to it earlier. I just found that kind of cheesy. To be honest, I would have preferred that they just like ramped the action up and then ended it. I didn't need any emotional connection at the end with the characters.
Yep. And what'd you think of Smoke's showdown with the KKK?
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay. So you like that part of
I
it.
like that part. I mean, that's what I mean. Like, I think the film, remember we're in spoilers. I think the film could have ended when he kills the last guy.
Yes.
And just kind of, have
I
the curtain
agree.
come down.
Yeah.
Cause the tag on to the end there, I get it. And it was good performance, all the rest of it. but I felt it unnecessary for this kind of film. If it was a pure drama,
Mhm.
absolutely. But for this, like to me, just like other times you've talked about, it kind of detracts because it gives you kind of the horror of the KKK and the showdown, and then I think it lessens the impact by what they do at the very end. For
Yeah.
me, anyway.
Yeah, no, I think I agree. And I think that's the one because they try to bleed into so many genres.
Yes.
And we want romance, we want drama, we want musicals,
Yeah.
we want horror. Like sometimes those things don't necessarily jive super
100%.
well.
Yeah.
And it kind of reminded me of Inglorious Bastards a little bit, in that Inglorious Bastards is a bit of like a Jewish revenge
Yes.
fantasy, and you've got the guy like shooting all the Nazis in the movie theater, like him like mowing down all these KKK
Yeah.
guys. At the end, I thought was like serving a similar function.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Because it seemed a bit separated from the rest of the film, but they kind of tacked it on at the end. His showdown with them, like it wasn't. I think
Although-
you could have had the film end with the vampire stuff and not have had
Yes.
that, and it wouldn't have feel like they didn't tie up any loose ends.
I agree. Although they do allude to it right
Yes.
away, right? Like
Yes.
if you guys cross our property line, we're going to shoot you dead. Right?
Totally.
Like, right. But that was a very short, like they could have cut that scene too if they didn't have the showdown at the end.
Yeah.
I mean, okay. So the caveat that I will say there is, in order to remain somewhat historically accurate, the KKK had to be in it. Because
sure.
there was still a very strong, powerful group at the time, particularly in the Mississippi and in the Delta. So, could it have been the same film and not mention the KKK? I think that would have not been a good thing. I'm not being very articulate, but you know what I mean? Like,
I thought they could have woven more KKK elements into the vampires themselves, so you could almost like marry those two things
would be
together.
interesting,
Like
yeah.
if the vampires were the KKK, like that,
Yeah.
and maybe that one guy was meant to be the main guy, Remy or Remick.
yeah, I don't know, because he didn't. You mean was he meant to be a vampire?
No, was he meant to be a KKK member, the original guy?
Oh yeah, I'm 100% sure.
Right. Okay. So they did sort of have it in
Yeah,
there then.
yeah.
But not a full blown.
No.
Yeah. And then did you watch the post credit scene?
I did not. Is there a post credit?
Okay.
Okay.
I didn't either, and I was reading about it afterwards. But I guess at the end, you have Sammy's character go to the bar, and he's like older
Oh,
now.
sorry. Yes, and he's a blues guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then he
okay.
runs into Stack,
Yeah. Okay.
who says like, maybe he regretted surviving. Anyways, I didn't see that scene, so I don't want to comment on it because I will go home and watch it. But yeah, did you?
I do remember like whatever, however many years later, he's like a John Lee Hooker kind of guitar player.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did see that actually. I didn't clock it as post credit, but it probably was.
Yeah.
There you go. I'm
Yeah.
not sure I have anything left to say.
No, it's a good film. It's unique. It's kind of fun to have something that feels really different.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Unlike my quick cut Fear Street Palm Cream, which just felt like any other kind of slasher movie. Yeah, I like that this is mixing genres in ways that haven't been mixed before, and it was very well done. And it was good.
Yeah, it's not a run of the mill film. It's like you mentioned many times. I mean, great music, great performances, quality filmmaking. If you're making a film in the horror genre, then give us the horror, and not just. I mean, yeah, sure, there were vampires, but it didn't have the same impact that other vampires.
So you felt that as well, that the horror elements were lacking.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Did you want to spoil what our next episode's going to be, or do you want to leave that for a surprise?
Let's leave you guessing. But it will be a film of 2025, and it will be one that's obviously already been released a few months ago. How long ago?
Yeah, I think it was February.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
But it's a good one, so stay tuned. And
well, before we do that, one last thing.
Totally denied.
If you enjoyed, I'd be curious genuinely to hear people's thoughts on Sinners, because I've heard mixed things. Some people have loved it and other people didn't. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you can go in the comments and let us know. You can always shoot us an email at dudesthedead@gmail.com. So let us know what you thought of Sinners. Be curious to hear what you think. Now,
And
we'll see you in the aisles.